With only a few days to go until the penultimate episode of From Season 4 is released, that means one thing. It's time to theorize on what could be on the horizon as we build towards the ending of the penultimate season. Most recently, we had the man in yellow trying to confuse Tabitha, Sophia looking like she was preparing for something sinister, and Jade wanting to tear down the bottle tree when the boy in white previously told Victor that he should leave the trees alone. It seems like although the town thinks that they might be onto something, it might not be what they think. So ahead of the episode, I wanted to share my theories and predictions on what I think is going to happen. So let's get into it. Here is From Season 4 Episode 9 Theories Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The Bottle Tree Plan. Personally, the idea of tearing down a tree that's considered to be connected to the supernatural happenings in the town and was also the source of remembering due to the codes in the bottles in the previous season, it's something that doesn't feel like it should be done. However, like Jade said, maybe people in the past weren't willing to take the risks when it came to trying to get out of there, so he'd much rather try that than end up as another incarnation of himself that ends up being killed by the town folk. One could argue that it could be the very thing that led the different versions of Jade to be killed. However, I don't actually think that's the case. When thinking back to what the man in yellow said to Tabitha, he mentioned that both Jade and Tabitha hadn't gotten that far in the plan before, so I don't think that's what ends up being the trigger point. In the next episode, I think Tabitha is going to end up telling Jade and Boyd about what she saw when she was by the RV and when the man in yellow appeared. Information such as him mentioning that they've not gotten this far before and the ultimatum that he put towards her when he said how the bones could be the key to getting out of there, or that it was going to bring about a suffering that they could never imagine. With Boyd believing that the town itself is pushing back and doing its best to frighten the residents because he believes that they're getting closer, even though he was firmly on the side of not wanting to go along with Jade's plan. I feel hearing from the horse's mouth that there's a chance that the bones could be the key to getting out of there. It makes me think that he's going to switch sides and go along with Jade. It might also be why he believes that the town is showing him the residents dead in his vision and the flashbacks to the death that he's never truly been able to get over, which is his wife Abby. He might believe that the town's trying to convince him that something bad will happen if they go through with it, just like what the man in yellow said to Tabitha. Boyd is going to believe that the man in yellow is afraid, and I do actually agree with Boyd and think that the man in yellow is. There's an entire video that I released on the channel if you want a more in-depth discussion about it, but I basically think he's shown his hand and is bluffing them, but I do actually think he's scared. Otherwise, he would have just let the townspeople try to escape and he'd have enjoyed tormenting them like he usually does. So in the next episode, I think we'll see the plan beginning to get developed. The thing with the bottle tree being ripped out and being used as the only escape from the chamber in the caves where the bones are located is that the boy in white previously warned Victor about chopping down the tree when he tried to get rid of it in Season 3 Episode 9, and he said how he shouldn't do that because it's important. Then in the most recent season, Victor actually spoke out when he was discussing the movement of the trees when his father interrupted him and he said how the trees had actually moved slightly. So the very tree that Jade is thinking of might not actually hold the exit that he's hoping for. And if they ultimately end up realizing that when they're down there, they're monster meat. Considering the importance that certain trees in Fromsville have and the fact that it's not just a regular tree that's planted into the ground, I would avoid moving it, but maybe that's why they've not found a way out of there yet. So I think the plan to go into the caves will get underway and we'll see a small group heading in there right before the final episode begins. When Victor previously went to chop down the tree and asked why the boy in white wasn't helping them, he said that he tried before with Christopher. So if we're looking at it from an alternative perspective, if the boy in white previously helped Christopher, maybe if Victor had chopped it down in that moment, then it wouldn't have led to Jade coming up with this plan of looking to retrieve the bones. Sophia's dark intentions. When it comes to Sophia, judging by the trailer, it seems like she's going to have put away the yellow suit and the dark plan that she's been working on might begin to finally unfold. For example, she's going to get her hands on Clara and bring her into the picture for the first time in what feels like forever. I think Sophia might use Clara as somebody to pin the undercover identity of the man in yellow on. We know that she's got her claws into a few different people in this season, such as Sarah in making sure that she did what she was told and fracturing her mind, Mariel in showing her when she was trapped inside of the caves, and Henry with the belief that he could get out of there. So it looks like Clara is next on the list. The man in yellow has been targeting all of them for a multitude of different reasons, and with her speaking of playing different games, a new game will most likely get played with Clara. I've seen a few theories of people saying that Clara could be an imposter or a rat and she's actually been working with the man in yellow, but I just can't quite see that being the case. The man in yellow is the mole, so I don't know why you'd need another one. Instead, I think that Sophia might task Clara to do something that might seem harmless, but if it's captured by Boyd, Jade, Tabitha, or those that are aware of the man in yellow, then they might get suspicious of her. I could definitely see all of this ending up being pinned on Clara though. I also think that an alternative option is that the unimaginable suffering that could be on the horizon if the man in yellow is telling the truth is what Clara could be the final piece of the jigsaw of. I theorized in the past that it could have been the massacre, but I actually think it's going to be something different. We're about to head towards the final season of the show, and I think there could be some big deaths that could be on the way in the lead up to it. So what if the suffering that's on the way is actually the death of a few of the main characters, the people that Sophia's actually been toying with and playing with, Sarah, Mariel, Henry and Clara? It would kind of make sense as they're not as integral to the story as the likes of Jade, Boyd and Tabitha and are more on the outside of the main cast, so they would carry weight to them. Rather than the show going for a massacre and just sheer numbers, instead they could go for the heart and get characters that would cause upsets. Victor would be upset about Henry, Christy would be upset about Mariel, and the town in general would be shocked by Sarah and Clara's. I also think it would be cool if it happened during the day, as it would show that not all of the trouble that occurs in Fromsville happens during the dead of night. If it happened whilst Boyd and Co were inside of the caves looking for the bones, it would add the most tension because we'd see threat levels occurring for pretty much all of the residents at the same time, whether they're in the caves or not. Fatima's veins. Another major revelation that we got in the most recent episode is that Fatima's body developed varicose veins on her stomach that resembled what those that were sacrificed had, and we also found out that her heart rate dropped to around 19 beats per minute, a heart rate that would mean that she shouldn't have still been alive. This is something that will definitely continue to be developed as we draw to the conclusion of the season. As we know, the monsters are seen to have no pulse whatsoever, and with Fatima, hers is slowly starting to drop down more and more, so one would imagine that she could be on the cusp of turning into one. The monsters were given their immortality when they essentially made a deal with the town, or the man in yellow, where if they sacrificed their children then they'd live forever. Even though Fatima didn't agree to this deal, we saw that her child, which turned out to be Smiley, was essentially given over to the town. So if the rules of the town are essentially ingrained within it and naturally unfold, then I wonder if Fatima simply couldn't do anything about it and that she's now destined to turn into a monster. That would make a cool twist, especially considering we all thought that she was turning into a monster last season when she was carrying Smiley. Henry's deterioration. Henry's mind is about to enter the darkest position that it's been in, and all of that comes from the fact that Sophia is playing games with him. Following her putting her blood inside of his drink when they had their bonding session, she's been causing him to have hallucinations ever since. I think these very hallucinations are going to continue into the next episode. He was told that he needs to forcibly disconnect if he wants any chance of making it out of there, and with him believing that what he's seeing is actually real, and it being the life that he's always dreamed of. A life where he has a family, his children are successful, and he's got a grandchild. It's not going to take him much convincing if what he's always dreamed of is on the other side. I think we're going to get one more hallucination with Henry, and that hallucination is going to be the doctor reinforcing the idea that he's not got much time left until the opportunity to forcibly disconnect can occur. This is either going to be when we'll see him succumb to being part of the plan that Sophia has, or we'll see him ending things for himself. Most likely in the way that Victor spoke of a few episodes back, where he said that when he was younger, a man walked off of the roof of Colony House. Julie story walking. One element of the story that has to appear in the next episode is Julie story walking. When she first story walked in the season 3 finale, I felt like it was going to be a massive part of the next season. However, sadly, we've not actually seen it being that fleshed out. With her most recently speaking with Elgin and it almost giving her some sort of inspiration following her giving up hope, I feel she's going to be heading back towards the ruin and will try her luck with the story walking again. I was shocked when both herself and Randall didn't appear at all in the previous episode, but for the story walking to have any kind of impact moving forward, I feel we'll have to see them back on screen again. I think they'll be developing the key methodology that they left behind in episode 4 that they didn't think worked, but I think we could see that if she draws on a symbol, leaves it in a timeline, then draws that same symbol again, then it could be the thing that allows her to return to it. All she has to do is remember. For now, these are the main theories that I have on episode 9 of season 4. From is genuinely one of those TV series where it's got such a mixed bag in quality. Season 4 has had episodes that have been rated 6, 7s and 8s, which blows my mind. I'm just hoping that we're gonna get an episode that will be on the higher side of the ranking, especially seeing as though we're drawing towards the end of this season's story. So, there you have it, from Season 4 Episode 9 Theories Explained.